Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly podcast series called Encouragement for Your Life. Most of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach. I like to say I help people find their voice and learn to use it. I'm also a conference speaker on the topics of public speaking, presentation skills, how to deal with the media, and crisis communication. I've got a number of other presentations on my website if you'd like to check those out. If your organization has an upcoming conference and you need a keynote speaker, I hope you'll reach out at debsofield.com. I would love to be a part. I've got a number of great books on the market. My best-selling book, Speak Without Fear. My book, Perfecting Your Platform. Both of those are on Amazon and Audible if you like to listen to books. And my series, Encouragement for Your Life, which is a compilation of these podcasts, they're available on Amazon, volumes 1 through 3. Just go into Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, all my books will appear. I've got a great show today, and I'm calling it The Beginning of Wisdom is Knowing Which Question to Ask. I'm Deb Sofield. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break. Hey friend, what is the question that you would like an answer to? Well, let's think about that. Is it a question about your life, your family, or your future? And is there someone who can answer those questions for you? See, I believe that deep inside, most of us know pretty well the answers to all the questions that bubble up in our minds, and yet we choose not to answer those questions. Why? Because we fear the answer is something we don't like or want. We don't want to admit that the answer may be something we don't want to happen in our lives. Questions. We're all looking for answers, but we hate to ask the questions. We really need direction in our lives, but choose to go it alone. We need help, but steadfastly refuse to drop our guard and show our need. So we proceed to wander or even get lost when, in reality, an answer to our question would save us time, energy, and awkwardness. Yeah, sometimes we need help. Yet we stop short of admitting it. I do it too. This is preaching to myself, my friends. We all stop short of verbalizing the questions that burn in our hearts and minds. And we often stop short of allowing time to produce the answer that we say we're asking for. Why do you think it's so hard to ask a question? I mean, really, any question. What is it about simply saying, I don't know, I need some help? Well, I guess that's $1 million question. And to answer it, we might need to make the time in our busy lives to sit down and think through not only the questions we have, but also the answers. You know, whether we like the outcome or not, the beginning of wisdom is knowing which question to ask. I don't mean to speak in circles, but I find it interesting that when we choose to slow down long enough and settle our minds to a quiet, thoughtful state and ask questions that are buried deep within, we often can find the answers that we so diligently seek. If you believe that that is true, that the beginning of wisdom is knowing which question to ask, then we should probably set aside our fear and start asking the right questions for our future. Some of the questions that I think need to be asked and answered are simple ones that really do take serious time to answer, such as, hey, what do I want out of life? If you could do anything to make a living, what would it be? Are you happy where you are? And if not, what would it take to make you happy? I'd say the answer to those questions would go a long way in making certain that your path is calling and not the expectation that others, well-meaning or not, have placed on your shoulders. So let's quickly run through those questions and then allow your friend Deb to suggest a few options. All right, number 1, what do you want out of life? You know, I know for most people, the answer is enough money to live well, find someone to love and who would love you, not to worry about family and friends, be secure financially, emotionally, and physically. That list would surely continue with the benefits of what we would consider an easy life. As you think about the question, don't allow the current troubles, anxieties, or worries of your world to block your choices. This is not a time to be realistic, okay? Answer truthfully. What do you want out of life? And I want you to answer me in 3s. I want bam, bam, and bam. You can add more later, but for now, let's focus on these 3. Okay, so now that you mentally or verbally have spoken to yourself about what you want out of life, let's make some time to seriously allow your free imagination to play in the unrealistic options that your mind has conjured up. And maybe, just maybe, your subconscious will provide opportunities for a path forward for you. I know people want concrete facts and data. But friend, hear me out. When you limit your options, you will never leave the ground. It's been said that the gift of flight is reserved only for those who are willing to leap. So yes, I'm asking you to leap into the unknown known, so you can, for once in your life, see the possibilities that are laid out before you that you never saw before because you never allowed yourself to leap. I do believe that unless you can answer the question, hey, what do you want out of life? You're going to be chasing an elusive dream until your last breath because you never allowed the mystery of life to fill the void. Okay, so I'm not going to go all woo-woo on you, but I do think that if you are so stuck in a life you don't like, you've got nothing to lose when you allow the depth of your knowledge to provide a solution to the answer you've been afraid to ask. Friend, ask, and then answer yourself the question of, hey, what do I want out of life? Let me go to my next point. If you could do anything and make a decent living, what would that be? I love to ask this question because more often than not, I hear some great answers of a true heart's desire for hobbies and passions that fulfill the mind, body, soul, and spirit of those who I'm talking to. I know that life costs a lot of money, and it doesn't seem realistic to say, oh, well, I'll chuck this job and sail around the world. Wow, wouldn't that be fun? But I have to ask, what can you do in the interim to help satiate that dream or part of that dream of what you want to do when the time is right? I found through the years that making the time to do the thing that fulfills your dream keeps you on track to make it a reality down the road. What I don't want to have happen is for you to toss your dream aside as being unrealistic, when in reality, you don't know that for sure because you don't know what the future holds. Oh, you've got some vague idea that your dream is not realistic because other people probably told you that. But unless you dig in and refuse to take no for an answer, you're right. You'll never possess the dream. It was Henry Ford who said, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. Now it's up to what you think you can, maybe not today, but someday that would be worth the wait. Finally, the one question that seems to strike fear in the hearts of those I ask is, what would it take to make you happy? All right, don't answer that for a minute. Let's let it sink in. What would it take to make you happy? This is one of those questions where the answer seems so large that it takes up acres of mental capacity. What I love about this question is that, in a way, most people honestly don't know how to answer because they've never allowed themselves to dream or they haven't dreamed in years. And there may be reasons for that. Some would say due to responsibilities that you committed to years ago or yesterday. You can't just flee your duty, so get a grip and stop wishing for something as elusive as happiness. Or make your own happiness if you're so unhappy with what you have. Others would encourage you to do the opposite and let go and live however you want. I don't have an answer for you. Only you can make that decision. Friends, you get to decide what is best for you and what would it take to make you happy. Now, I will add that I don't think it's right to break your commitments, but beyond that caveat, think about your happiness and how you get there. I would dare say most people could talk about a time when they were happy, a relative term I know. Most can talk about a year or a moment when happiness rained down on them in such a way they could not drink it all in. And I found that a few friends can tell me when happiness walked out the door, a sad day that still hurts. Friend, knowing that life has ups and downs, tell me again, what would it take to make you happy today? I know it's a hard question, especially in a negative world in which we all live. All the negative chatter from friends and family and radio, TV, social media, let's be honest, it can destroy your joy and turn your delight in the good things into a desert of hate and bitterness. I see it all the time. All the caustic comments of others who have no opinion worth listening to, who will wail and complain, gripe and cry about the issues they only know one side of. And in their venom, they cast a wide net of anger in hopes of dragging you down to their level. Hear me, don't let it happen. Leave them to their own devices and don't get tangled up with those who choose to see darkness instead of light. Friend, you can make your world a pleasant place by maintaining your attitude of gratitude, no matter what others spew, but you'll have to work at it. Seeing goodness in the world around you is sometimes hard unless you are programmed for a positive life view. That being said, let me end on a high note and ask you this week that you seriously consider the questions I posed today. Number 1, what do you want out of life? 2, if you could do anything and make a decent living doing so, what would that be? And 3, are you happy where you are? And if not, tell yourself what would it take to make you happy enough? I write a weekly blog and podcast because I want you to live your best life ever. I know while that path is hard, friend, it's doable if you'll take the time to get back to your original passion that once burned bright enough to light your path, and then figure out how to rekindle the flame for your success and happiness. Life is too short to live unhappily. I believe you were made for more than just existing in the desert of life. You, my dear listener, have a calling, a hope, and a future. If you'll just take your life back, reset your goals with a path that you can walk joyfully to the end. And that starts when you can figure out which questions to ask to the answers that you already know. All right, another tough one today. I'm trying to do nicer ones, but these keep bubbling up, and I want you to have an amazing life, and so I'm going to keep pushing you to learn to live your best life ever. Friend, I know it's a journey, but I promise we'll walk together through this towards a better day. And remember, Deb doesn't care what the world says about you. I want you to know I care about you. And I care about you because I believe you can do big things. But friend, that is only going to happen when you understand the beginning of wisdom is knowing which question to ask. And once you ask and then you learn, here's my promise to you. I will walk alongside you as we follow your dream to greatness together. All right, everybody, you've been listening to Deb Sofield's Encouragement for Your Life. Take care. Join me next week. Have a good one, everybody.